Dum 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 dum. Right, I'm going straight into this. I haven't even checked that the world hasn't ended in the night. One comment. Now, on the website, it might be interesting for people to know the statistics. Let's say about 60 people came across from YouTube, and by the time we got to talking about understanding, then I pumped out those 3 videos on understanding, we were down to about 40. Now these numbers, because they fluctuate, so they're not right, but I'm just telling you for information's sake, not to give you facts, as it were. We were down to about 40. Then I boom, these 3 videos on understanding. And by the end of that, we were down to 20. Since the understanding videos, only 20 people have really been watching. And hopefully at the end of this video, we won't be down to 19, because we've only got one comment from Coax. But Coax hasn't commented enough for me to have a strong concept about who Coax is, what a Coax is. But I know I recognise the name from commenting over, surely it's 10 years, is it not? And it's going to sound hard on Coax, this, but what I'm really being hard on is not Coax, it's the 20 people that dropped out at somewhere on the video 1, 2 or 3 on understanding, where I said clearly, hopefully clearer and even clearer, that you and me can't understand anything, or don't understand anything, or don't need to understand anything. Obviously I've played with PW in the meantime, with PW's ego, and I'm going to I've said before, and I said it directly to PW, I don't like the word ego because it comes loaded as a concept in its own right, but I feel that I'm going to use it here to represent. I'm going to go back. I've rather steamed forward rather quickly in the OTP iteration of what I've been saying, where YouTube might be considered a great big stretched out version of the same thing, just going backwards and forwards, seemingly probably to most people getting slower and slower. And I have rather steamed ahead here. So I'm going to go back and use a few kind of middle of YouTube concepts. Not concepts, but I'm going to speak as though I'm going to use words that I where we are now on OTP, I probably would want not to use in the description of what I want to say. And ego is certainly one of them. So I think I'm going to be describing a person. I haven't decided whether to call it the brain yet or not. Let's call it the brain, so we know it's me talking at least. And the bit I don't want to say, but I am going to say, is that there is a part of the brain that is the ego that is a member on the board of the committee, and it's a quite big bullying member of the committee. Yeah. See, I don't like this, but I think it's probably the best way to continue. The ego wants to, I've got to make this all up. You see, I'm making up a fantasy to try and describe something that I'd rather not describe. But if I don't do it this way, I think we'd be down to certainly. Anyway, it's whatever's happening is happening. So the ego's the big bully on the committee. So what I'm going to say here is that Coax's ego is as dull-witted, bullying and plain fucking stupid as everybody else's ego. And Coax is committee is completely and utterly dominated on this subject by the big bullying ego on the committee. And I think we can definitely say that the statistics will change, but using the analogy, or using we were 40 and we dropped down to 20, the 20 that dropped out when I pushed the can't understand thing, the egos on those committees said, we are withdrawing from this, what do business people say? This market. That's OTP or Mystic or Nick on YouTube or whatever. We are now withdrawing from this market. And there might have been others on the committee that said, no, he's all right. But the big ego bully says, no, we're fucking out of here. And they're out of here because the big bullying ego, thick bastard, pulled the plug. Others might have been trying to form enough power to go against ego, but ego has pulled the plug and they're gone. Coax's ego has written me this comment. And I think what I want to say about Coax's ego, the ego of the 20 and the ego of all of us, and this is all very contrived, is not stupid at all. It's like the cat. The cat can pull all sorts of tricks to get what she wants, to go cutie cutie. Children can do this. They are brilliant at little devious things. In our world of adult worlds, no, I won't go anything against women. I'll get into trouble for that. But you get the idea. They can act stupid to get what they want. Yeah, that's the main line that we're after. They act stupid to get what they want. And this is Coax's ego acting stupid to get what it wants. But, sorry about this long build-up, but I think it's important. Coax's committee, even with the great stupidity of the ego wanting to put out this statement, there was a good reasonableness of balance comes out in the comment. But because of the ego quotient that went into it, to somebody like me that just reads it all like PW, if I say PY, by the way, instead of PW, it's because my neighbour's called PY. It is to me anyway, Pierre-Yves. And so I'm used to saying PY, not PW. So PW. Notice an ego when we see it. Okay, is that enough? So you could say that this long, tedious build-up has been my ego part having to put this in so we don't go down to 19 and then even less, because there's a natural ego wanting for there to be more people listening to me than less people listening to me. So this is what this entire 10-minute video preamble was all about. My ego doing it. I could have just blurted straight in and said, Coax, you're a fucking stupid idiot, right? Right, the Coax comment. And I've come so far, I might not do the second part of it. There's my screen go off. She'll come back. I would say that the most important sentence from your above is this line, obviously from the written post I did yesterday. My writing, looked at reasonably, it's quite clear that there is no point in being a person. Looked at reasonably, it is quite clear that there is no point being a person. That's what I wrote. Coax. It kind of just throws everything up in the air and implies just do whatever the do whatever the feck you want. None of it matters. I really wish I could believe you, and I want to believe it, but something is ailing me from doing it. I don't know what that is. Okay. Now before this, when I was making this cup of tea that I haven't had a swig of for a while, I'd kind of read the comment and thinking, well, how can I reply? What we've got here is, say, a mathematical problem. It's not as simple as 2 and 2 is 4, but I think it's, what shall we go? 2 and 2 is 2 and 2 plus 3 is 7. It's that sort of easy. 2 and 2 plus 3 is 7. That's too complicated. It doesn't sound well. It's like 2 plus 3 is 5. Yeah. It's not as easy as 2 plus 2 is 4, but it's as easy as 2 plus 3 is 5. But because we've always heard things are as easy as 2 plus 2 is 4, that sounds, it just runs like a greasy toboggan down a freezing slope. Whoosh, it just goes. But 2 plus 3 is 5 kind of comes out of, now, is that because I remember the do, or can I calculate that? 2 plus 3 is 5. It doesn't whoosh like 2 plus 2 is 4. But it's equally as easy. It just hasn't been, said as much, so it doesn't whoosh as much. 2 plus 3 is 5. And how do we know that? Well, we can check it by saying, well, we've got the answer 5 minus 3 equals 2. So, yeah, it must be right. 5 minus 3 is 2, so 2 plus 3 must equal 5. Or you can say 5 minus 2 equals 3. So yeah, it's checked all round, it works, okay. But Coax's ego does not want that calculation made. And it's so obvious. Let's go to, looked at reasonably, it's quite clear that there is no point in being a person. That's a summary of my points made above. Let's just go to the one point, which I think was probably number 1, which I kind of took 10 years to make on YouTube. There is no free will. Okay, because that covers the rest. The others are, they're extras, but you don't need the extras when you've understood number 1. Coax, Mystic, none of us have free will. Okay, now, looked at reasonably, it's quite clear that there is no point in being a person. We can say, I have no free will. And that just throws everything in the air and implies just do what the feck you want. And you go, oh, fucking hell. I do. I go, fucking hell. You can't even do 2 plus 3 is 5. Because you won't do the checking. You won't do the 5 minus 3 equals 2. I mean, it's so... Can you imagine my frustration? Because this is so fucking obvious if you just stop and think and check it. So fucking obvious that the only thing that could possibly not do something as simple as this is something with such a big fucking ego that it must be the coax big fucking stupid ego that just crushes everybody else on the committee and say, I'm taking care of this one. It's only something as fucking stupid as that could be as stupid as to write this comment, right? Because it's so obvious, the flaw in it. The flaw, it gapes, it shouts to me anyway. I mean, it goes, it does everything. Alarms going off and going, look, I must be completely fucking stupid to write something like this. A child wouldn't be impressed by this. A child that can do 2 plus 3 is 5 would not be impressed by this. What it's saying is, I haven't got free will, so I can do what the fuck I want. That's what this comment's saying. I do not have free will. 2. I can do what the fuck I want. 76. How can you do what the feck you want, because none of it matters? How can you do what the feck you want when you've got no free will to do any fucking thing? It implies just do what the feck you want. How can you do what the feck you want when you can't fecking do any fecking thing? You don't have free will, so you can't do fecking anything. Huh? You never had free will. You never will have free will. Whether the committee gets together and says, oh yes, okay, pass a resolution, we have no free will, it will not alter anything because you didn't have it beforehand and you didn't have it afterwards. It's like the committee room's painted green and you've been saying it's blue all the time. Now you're going to pass a resolution, agree that you haven't got free will, and say, oh, yes, okay, we'll pass a resolution saying that the thing's painted blue. It won't affect anything else because it never affected anything in this first place. You haven't got free will. You never had free will. You'll never have free will. You haven't got free will now. You've no free will. So it can't change. It won't change. It hasn't changed. It won't change. It never will change. You can pass a resolution saying that it should be written in big letters, small letters, whatever. It doesn't alter the fact you can't do what the feck you want because you can never do what the feck you ever did. And you'll never do what the feck you ever did. If you haven't got free will, you don't do what the feck you do. I mean, it's so obvious. Only an ego of such monstrously huge, ignorant proportions could miss that fact. That if you'd never have free will, then your life did all its things. You're never going to have free will, so your life will do all the things. Whether you say, oh, I've got free will, or oh, I haven't got free will, it alters it not. And that's the blockage of the dumb, fat, ignorant, stupid ego that's saying, well, if we admit that we haven't got free will, everything will fall to shit and we'll start murdering people in the street. And the other intelligent ones on the committee, on this one, because it's crucial to the ego that it says that it's in charge, the other one's going, well, it won't change anything. Because yes, you will. If you admit it, you'll go around murdering people. Because it, on the committee, wants to think it's in charge of the committee members and is doing things, passing resolution and pushing its resolutions through. And on this particular subject, it crushed the others and put out this ridiculous fucking message. But it didn't. That's the thing. It didn't. Because there's no such thing as the ego. There's no such thing as the other committee members. What you did, you did. What you're doing, and what you will do, you will do. The committee members don't come into it at all. What the committee members say doesn't come into it at all. What you think doesn't come into it at all. Nothing comes into it at all. Your life just is worked. It's just done. Your life is done. You do not do your life. Your life is just done for you. You are being acted out. God, is that another 10 minutes? Right, I'm sorry. So, whatever your life acts out, a big ego, a small ego, a genius, a stupid little girlie that pisses her panties, doesn't matter. It's being played out by what Axion liked. Out there is doing it all. It's doing it all. Always did, always will. And now, on this comment, now I can't see, it's playing the part of being a stupid, big, dumb ego. That's the part it's playing out. So I can criticize the ego. This is out there playing me, criticizing the ego of Coax. And Coax made that comment, but it was out there that played Coax that made that comment, and now it's out there is playing me to reply to that comment. There's no egos, there's no committee, there's no nothing here. It's all being played from out there. To turn it on, to turn it off, and that's what I'm going to do now. If you got this far, 20 minutes for the last 20, we'll see how we go.